everyone, using astrology, I want to talk about how women can support women by healing through toxic masculinity and toxic patriarchy. And I mean, let's be real, this is something that we're all suffering from, and what we can heal from this any time of year. Right now, with Mars being in Libra, this is an excellent time to work through these sorts of things. And this is because Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. And Scorpio is about psychological trauma healing. It's about taboo things, shadiness, betrayal, jealousy, possessiveness, things of that nature. And Libra is about justice and fairness for everyone. It's about collaboration. It's about being supportive. It represents women being ruled by Venus. And it has a personal and professional presence to Libra. So I want to talk about how we can heal from toxic patriarchy and how women can support other women both in our professional lives romantically as well as professionally. Now we also have the South Node, which is an emptying out energy in Libra as well, and this is especially beneficial for people pleasers because people pleasers tend to have some sort of a connection with Libra among other placements, and oftentimes it shows up as wanting to create peace at the expense of self-expression, and this can be really problematic. And so this is a great time to sort of work through that energy, because in a professional environment I've witnessed a lot of my girlfriends hitting me up, being frustrated, wanting support, because there's this narrative, there's this idea that like women working with other women is always problematic, and like they're like, oh, men don't have this problem, and I don't agree with that. I do think that men have problems too, but the difference is the marketing and the narrative, the expectations, the standards that are taking place. Like, men can get into fights and stuff, but it's just seen as like a character trait. Oh, that's just men being men. It's normalized. Whereas women are emotional, or they're expressing themselves, and it's seen as like women are being too much, women are being emotional, women need to shut the fuck up, women need to contain themselves and not take up too much space. And so when you hold back in that sort of a way, things start to fester, and there isn't a directness, and there are sneaky ways in order to express things. And when you start to normalize this, directness can start to look very aggressive, and so people start to hold back, and this is a problem for everyone. Whereas with male privilege, men are encouraged to speak up. It's known as showing leadership skills, and even, you know, like men and being violent and problematic and stuff are seen as like really virile and attractive and all of these different things. And it's like, I feel like men do also have problems. It's just that it's being portrayed differently. And I think that this is an excellent time to really heal through this energy, because even though Mars is a fiery planet, it rules watery Scorpio. So there's this intensity to it, and there's an emotionality to it being a water sign. But the thing is, the other narrative is that, you know, we're told women are emotional and men aren't. But like that's not true. Hormonally speaking, men go through their hormonal cycle in a 24-hour period. Now, when your hormones are imbalanced, that can change, just like with women, but that literally is to say men go through their emotional state within a 24-hour period. But also men are conditioned to hold back their emotions, and also emotions like anger are normalized. A lot of emotional behavior are just described as character traits rather than being acknowledged as being emotional. But being someone who's been blessed with having a lot of amazing guys in my life that are emotionally available, expressive, connected, mature and stuff, these are guys who aren't afraid and are able to cry and are connected to how they feel and stuff. They're way more emotional than women. We go through our hormonal cycle in 28 days or less or longer and stuff, but it takes us more time. It's just that any little micro expression of emotion, women are often seen as being too much. So there's so much this micromanaging, suppressing, and repressing going on with women, and there's just like this hyper awareness of that kind of energy that's taking place. And so that can get in the way of harmonious, authentic conversations. And this is a great time, especially in the workplace, to practice directness, to practice what are some ways that I can process any insecurities that I have about speaking up what are some environments and how can I express myself in a way that's going to be beneficial for everyone involved. This is a great time to really use this energy. And particularly when you're trying to manifest things, doing it in collaboration, in support, rather than doing things on your own and independently is also going to be really beneficial as well. And also just maybe like speaking up and advocating in a collaborative sort of a way. This is an excellent time to do that, to do this in a work environment and really explore, are there any narratives within yourself, within your work environment that's contributing to this? How can you change this energy? How can you show up as a leader where you're advocating for yourself? Because Mars also rules Aries, and the North Node is in Aries, and this is about the fastest way for you to achieve material wealth and what you're meant to experience in excess. And so this is the time to find that balance and that harmony, letting go of people pleasing, but also maintaining, advocating for yourself in a very collaborative sort of a way so that you speak up as a leader. How would you speak up for yourself if you weren't going to be criticized? Take the time to really explore these sorts of things. I think that this is really beneficial. And then on a romantic level, I feel like, and also before I get into that, like when I say support women supporting other women, if you see someone, if you see another woman who's struggling with expressing herself, encourage her to speak up, be an advocate. You know, if you see in a work environment that a woman is being shut down, encourage her to be like, hey, you know what, so-and-so is still talking, or whatever that may look like. Like, think about how you can support other women right now, and that's you too. How can you support yourself, even if you're in an environment where other people aren't necessarily supporting you? Because so many of the issues that women have are rooted in this toxic patriarchal society of like women just being who they are is considered to be inherently problematic. That's the narrative, and it's influencing how we're interacting, and that's a problem for everyone. So this is the time to get rid of that motherfucking bullshit. Okay, like this is literally going to help everyone. And then on a romantic level, I think what's really important to address is I feel like a lot of the women hating women themes that I've noticed are over some guy, some fuckboy who's honestly not even worth it. And it's this sort of thing where when you're desperate for male approval, sometimes women can start compromising their integrity, their values, and it may not be something you're doing, it may be something that happened to you, but it's one of those things where, you know, it doesn't excuse shady guys or anything like that, but it's very much that philosophy of like, you know, women fighting for a man, it's toxic and it's unnecessary. We live in a world of billions and billions of people. Like, there are enough men to go around. We don't need to be fighting over anybody or anything of that kind of bullshit. And I just think this whole thing is really interesting. It's one of those things where it's like, unless someone is in an open relationship, like, just because you can snatch up a fuckboy doesn't mean that you should. And it's just, there's like this rooted like toxicity of jealousy, possessiveness, ego, a desperation for male approval that leads to women going after men that are taken. And I say that loosely because honestly, if a guy can get snatched up, he's not worth it. If the man that you're with gets snatched up by someone else, he's not worth it. The way I see it, if I'm with a man and some woman can take him, then you know what? You can have him. And even then, that doesn't mean that she deserves him, because I don't think the healed version of that kind of woman would go after some fuckboy who's gonna be shady like that. It's not beneficial. It's just keeping that toxicity alive, and it's unnecessary. When you become desperate for that approval, you engage in that sort of a way, and it's not okay. And if a guy can get snatched up, I don't understand that dialogue, that narrative of like, well, he wasn't happy, he wasn't satisfied. Listen, I don't care what a great relationship you're in, there are going to be times in your relationship where you're not going to be satisfied, you're not going to be happy, because not everything is all lights, fairies, and unicorns, whatever the fuck. Like, life is real. Okay, like it just is. The sign that rules sex is also the sign of jealousy and betrayal and shadiness and healing and all of these beautiful things. Someone feeling unsatisfied in their relationship is not a justification to go in there and snatch up something that you got no business snatching. It doesn't make it okay. It just doesn't. And in order to remove those types of that temptation, you gotta work on yourself. You gotta feel worthy so that you're not just desperate for any man's approval, that you're gonna go after someone who doesn't deserve you. This is the time to really work on that, because while Mars is about taking action, Mars is also the planet of separation, because it's the first planet that separates itself farthest from the sun until it moves back in retrogrades. And so this is very much about separation. How can you separate from traumas, jealousy, possessiveness, insecurity, shady behavior, so that you can show up in a harmonious, loving, fair way, so that you can collaborate and support other women? This is something that I think is really beneficial. Like, you know, I don't think the people who are going around like being the other woman want to be treated this way themselves. So why are you doing it? And you know damn well if someone does that to you, you're gonna be fucking pissed. That shit is not okay. And the healed version of you wouldn't be doing this. I don't think people are doing this because they enjoy the experience. Now, there can be wirings going on in your nervous system where, because of what you've been exposed to, like the sensation, the feelings, the emotions of love can be intertwined with that sense of abuse, shadiness, and stuff like that. That's a very real thing, and that's unfair if that was an environment that you grew up in, and I'm sorry if that's something that you experienced, but now it's your responsibility to untangle that. Okay, like, I don't fault people necessarily always for how they feel, because you can't always help how you feel, but you can change and control your behavior and your actions. When you learn to feel more secure in yourself, then you don't entertain these fuck boys. You know, it's like a guy, like, it's just, it's not a harmonious thing to do. The second sign from Libra is Scorpio. Scorpio is about psychological healing. So what are some things that you want to psychologically heal from? What to let go of? And with Mercury retrograding in Virgo, this can also be a time that you study and you learn, you know, depending on what you want to focus on. Mercury is not just about writing and thinking, but it's also about your nerves, your nervous system. Is your nervous system regulated in a certain way that is inherently problematic for you? And what are some things that you can do to change that? Sorry, there's a bee and I want to get away from that. And so there are different things that you can work on during this time, and I really encourage you to take a look at what this looks like. This is something that I just felt really inspired to share. Yesterday I just went on like this rant randomly, and I'll create a graphic on Canva and post this on here as well. And it was this whole message about how it's important to not just for women to not squander their time based on male approval. And I had no idea where this dialogue came from. It's not something that's like been an experience of mine, and it's not something that I'm dealing with right now. But today I realized, oh, this is why I really wanted to share this. So I know that this isn't going to resonate for everyone. This largely doesn't resonate with me, as far as, I mean, I like what I said has value and substance for me. I stand by it, I agree with it, but it's not a message I myself needed to hear. But if it's something that you needed to hear, I hope that you find this to be valuable, and just realize that you deserve better. And this is an excellent time to work through this. Thanks so much for watching, and have a lovely day. Bye, everyone.